can see us, we're ready, right? Yep. I'll call to order the January meeting of the Finance Committee, our first meeting of the new year. Welcome everybody here today. First off, as information, normally the Public Safety Committee meets after this. It will not be meeting today, so this will be the one and only committee meeting this afternoon. With that, we do have our 4 committee members here, as well as 3 of the 4 of the other councilmen and the mayor, so I welcome everybody here today. We will start as usual with the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone wants pulled from consent?
C9.
C9. Any others?
I make a motion to approve the balance.
We have a motion to approve the balance. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to second to approve the balance of the consent agenda. If everybody please vote when it comes up. That is approved. We will now do C9, which is the only item we pulled off of. Is the city clerk please read this?
C9, resolution authorizing a contribution of $350,000 to Smart Start of Forsyth County for pre-K initiatives.
Ben, could you please give an introduction for this?
Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tempore Adams, members of the City Council.
Good afternoon.
As part of the 2021-22 budget, the council appropriated $1.35 million for a crime prevention initiatives, which included $350,000 for pre-K initiatives. In September, let's see here, subsequent to that, the council supported the creation of the Early Childhood Education Task Force to study the pre-K needs of the community, and that effort produced a series of recommendations. The pre-K priority, which is really the entity that's managing this project, presented to the City Council back in December proposed uses of the city's allocation of $350,000 for pre-K initiatives. Part of that is to cover the shortfall in funding from their proposal to the county as part of the county's ARPA grant process. So that represented about a little over $126,000 to provide the full funding for their 2-year cohort model that they're looking to implement. A little over $11,000 would be used for data collection, $63,000 for early childhood education curriculum and formative assessment tools, $110,000 for health and safety screenings, and $39,200 for implementation support. The focus of the cohort would be on a number of classrooms that were both publicly supported as well as private, independently owned classrooms. Much of the funding that would be utilized out of the city's allocation would go to provide those supportive resources for the privately owned centers, about 26 classrooms there. So again, this was an information item that was presented to Finance Committee last month, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Ms. Adams.
That's why you think of yours. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Do we know who those private entities will be? Private or
Mayor Pro Tem Adams, they did provide responses to a number of the questions that you all had asked back in December. I think that they have not identified the specific private centers at this time, but we certainly will provide that information. That'll be part of the agreement that we draft with them.
So you can bring that to us as soon as you have that information?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ben, I've got a generic question, and I will preface it by saying my children are long, long past this. My youngest child's 34 now. But is this something, I am old enough to remember when kindergarten was added to the agenda for the public school system. Are we looking long-term for the public schools to offer pre-K, or are we looking for, I know churches have private pre-K programs. Are we looking for more churches to offer it or more nonprofits, or what's the end game here?
I think that the end game is not necessarily for for this initiative to evolve into something that is completely assumed by the public school system. The focus of this initial 2-year model is, Head Start programs, programs that are within the school system, as well as the private and independent centers. The focus is twofold. It's going to be on quality, which would be the focus of this initial cohort model, and then quantity. And so I think that over time, as they look to implement all the recommendations, it'll be, the focus will be on hitting both of those two key focuses, quality and quantity.
I did notice from the information we were given, approximately half the students, at least less than half the kids this age, are in some type of program. The only comment I would offer, and this is speaking to some of the younger folks I know in the community, at least on the west side of town, that even there they have a hard time finding pre-K programs. So I hope this cohort will take a very holistic look all over town, because I don't think this is just unique to the qualified census tracts, that there seems to be a shortage of quality not daycare, but quality pre-K everywhere. Thank you. Ms. Adams.
Yes, as I stated before, I worked on the priority pre-K committee. I was part of the 4, 5, 6 people that selected the people that worked on this initiative. Presently, we know from the data that was given to us at the beginning of the process that Forsyth County is very short or far behind other counties, particularly those even surrounding us, urban counties, as to how we are wanting our young children pre-K to start off equitably with opportunity to be successful. And this 3rd grade reading issue that we have, we all know that in order for children to be able to do that, they have to have the right tools and resources to start learning at the earliest age they can learn. Unlike Chair Clark, I don't have any children, but I feel compelled, as you all know, that all the children are my children. And I feel it's my responsibility, as well as the council, when we talked about this in budget cycle last year. If you look at all over the country, no part of government or community or humanity can sit on the sidelines and not participate or get in the road with school systems in counties and states and the federal government. So anything, because they're our citizens, and if we're not helping to put in the plate to help make them better, and then we watch them when they reach the age of 10, 12, and they can't read and they're struggling, and then they take this path, when we have an opportunity to help be a change maker in their life. So again, I want to thank the council and the staff for working to make this initiative possible. As I have said before, I will be bringing more to you during budget cycle, because again, the world has changed. We all have to be a partner and an active, participant in the lives of young people and our citizens up and down. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on this?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion second on C9. If everybody please vote when it comes up. And that is approved. Thank you very much. That finishes the consent agenda. We will now go to the general agenda, and we have 4 items. If the city clerk will please read G1.
G1, resolution authorizing a new lease agreement with KDM of Wilmington LLC or Assigns, providing a site for a leaf mulching facility for the sanitation department.
I actually asked several days ago for Ben to put this on the general agenda versus consent. There's nothing controversial here. We're simply renewing a lease that's been here around for a while. But I will continue to ask the question, can't we find some land we can buy? All we're doing is just need a piece of land that's flat that we, I guess, can pave it and put the leaves on them and let them rot away. So anyway, Mr. Taylor, I'll turn it over to you. If you want to give a quick introduction to this, and if you can try to address my question, I'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, other members of the committee and council.
Good afternoon.
The actual item that is before you today there is a map that you should be able to see. That location for that site has a strategic importance because of where it's geographically located in the city. As we go through the whole city to carry out the function of leaf collection and other things, it provides our crews an opportunity to leave that location and get back on the routes quicker. So to answer your question about finding another piece of, or actually purchasing some real estate, each time we have gone into the process of exploring the lease recommittal, we have worked with real estate to try to find a parcel that would meet our needs. There are a couple of factors, one being geographical, I've already mentioned, and the other one is the environmental factor, because we have to be able to deal with the leachate that's generated from the leaves. And so we would have to find a site that it actually meets the geographical as well as the state requirements. And so I will definitely be working with real estate again to see if there is another property that's available. Last conversation we had with the owners, I'm not certain that they were really committed to selling the property.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, but Mr. Taylor, our other site is around the corner, am I right? Or have we moved from that site across from the fairground?
Okay, the old site used to be at the fairground. So we're actually just a little bit further north on 32nd Street from where the old site was. So when we lost Reynolds Park several years ago, that kind of made it a little bit more difficult to get back into the process quick after we dumped. So we have a site at Overdale. We can actually go to Forum 52, which is on the far northern side of town. But 32nd Street, it gives us the ability to touch quads 3 and 4 a little bit quicker. And so, yes, we do have multiple sites, but this one, where it's strategically located, actually helps us move as fast as possible.
Okay, thank you. Have a motion, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion second on C1. If everybody please vote when it comes up.
G1.
Or G1, whatever we are here. Thank you very much. We will now read to G2.
G2, consideration of items regarding the cooperative effort between the Innovation Quarter and the city to rehabilitate stormwater management controls in downtown Winston-Salem.
Thank you. I'm going to give an introduction for this because I've been involved in this a little bit lately. About 12 years ago, in the end of 2009, the city entered an agreement, and it was one of the documents that was attached here, with, I'm going to call it Wake Forest, and that's actually the Innovation Quarter, but it's the Wake Forest organization, to build a stormwater retention pond for this whole side of town. And the agreement called for Wake Forest to donate the land and for the city to build the facility. And that all took place, and everything was great. And as you know, a lot of great things have happened in the research park. Anyway, I got a call about 8 months ago from someone who pointed out to me that we've never finished the agreement. Wake Forest has never deeded the land to us. We've never got around to doing the paperwork on it. And I'm not here today to debate why it hasn't happened. I just know it's one of those things that the can got kicked down the road and kicked down the road. But I think it's time we conclude it and get an agreement in place. Some of the repercussions of not having an agreement in place is nothing has been done on this. The bushes have never been trimmed, no routine maintenance been done. It's just kind of been in limbo. So anyway, Mr. Huff and I have been working on this, and he's going to go over what he's been done. But I think what we need to remember today is we have a motion in front of us to give the city manager permission to sign an agreement with Wake Forest for them to deed the land to us, and that's what we really need to get done. So with that introduction, Mr. Huff, if you'll take it from there.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joins, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, members of the committee and council. Mr. Chairman really summed it up very succinctly, but I will try to give a brief history and provide you with some numbers and what led us to what you have before you as far as these action items. So basically, we'll give a brief overview, go into the rehabilitation concept plan and its cost, and then the agreement that Mr. Chairman mentioned, the kind of the high-level parameters of it, and then the actions you have before you tonight. So where are we? What pond are we talking about? Basically, this is a facility that is bounded by 52 to the east and Salem Parkway to the south. And it is a long linear facility that basically the city constructed with public funds and grant money in 2013. It's a traditional, what we call a traditional stormwater detention device. It's got treatment controls in it, a riser structure to regulate the water level, and all of that is impounded by a deep foundation concrete structure that's 85 feet deep. So it's a very substantial device, and it is made to handle a lot of water. So to Mr. Chairman's point, a memorandum of understanding was struck between the city and then called the Piedmont Triad Research Park in 2009. And that agreement contemplated the city owning and operating in this facility in perpetuity. Fast forward to 2013, the device was constructed. You can see the photos to the right. It was very aesthetically pleasing. It was something that you would see like in a pond situation, not really a stormwater device, institutional, if you will, type feature. And as we mentioned, it treated and provided flood control and water quality control for 355 acres of drainage area, which was mostly the CBD or the Central Business District. So this was by far and away the largest regional device and provided the most flood control and water quality control in the Central Business District, far and away. And then that particular pond goes under Salem Parkway and then drains into Salem Creek, which is one of our most polluted streams in the city, and at the time of construction was placed on the impaired water list by the state. So this was kind of our Alamo, if you will, for water quality and flood control at the time. So fast forwarding over time, since its construction in 2013, this device has weathered many large storm events, much named weather storms that have come up from the south, and it has resulted in some aesthetic and structural needs for the pond, included but not limited to exotic invasive vegetation intrusion, where the native vegetation has been outcompeted by the kudzu, the privet, the smartweed, Lespedeza. Sediment deposition, bottom right picture, you can see the deposition in one of the 4-bay chambers. That is one of the pre-treatment vaults there that is just overrun with sediment. You can see asphalt in there, unconsolidated debris in it. It's completely choked out. Erosion in the pond slopes, riser structure damage, damage to the articulated block structures within the pond cells. Pre-treatment vaults, we've gone over that. And an item that is not due to weather is graffiti. It is on all the wall facing on the backside, and it's unsightly, honestly. So this prompted the rehabilitation concept plan between the Innovation Quarter and the city, where we partnered with a consultant, and their charge was to meet 4 primary goals. And those being restore and maintain the overall pond functionality, to give us a low maintenance solution to maintain this thing going forward, to give us an aesthetically pleasing solution that is appealing to all, and then to provide us cost estimates for those solutions. So here you have an excerpt from that finished product of that study. You have the cost breakdown for all the major components of that, and then I'll just direct your attention to the 3 columns to the right. They looked at 3 different things: Fleximat, which is a proprietary stabilization product, riprap, ordinary stone, and then articulated concrete block. And those are the stability sources that would tie the pond together between cell 1 and cell 2. And then they have a range of cost intervals there, bottom two lines, a 20% cost confidence interval, and then a 100% cost confidence interval. And we chose the ACBs, the articulated concrete block, because it's a generic item. It suits our business procurement process better, and it's something that could be used on many different service providers could provide this. So that's where you get the $3.4 million for restoration and retrofit of the stormwater facility.
You took the worst case scenario in the.
Correct, and that's what the consultant had, the 100% confidence interval that we would be able to do this for this cost. It's a very niche type work for contractors, so that's why you see the variability from the 20% to the 100%. So you got $3.4 million in construction costs, design and permitting, another $150, construction oversight, another $150. That gets you to your $3.7 million. And the consultant did some annual maintenance cost estimates, and they're in the $276,000 and change range for annual maintenance of this facility once it's restored, to do all of the laundry list of things to keep it in check. So next is agreements, the agreements that would govern this transaction moving forward. It's anticipated that the city and IQ would enter an agreement to convey all the land and improvements where the pond currently exists. And the city would get the construction easements, the access easements, and the fee simple land on the pond prior to the construction. And then the city would undertake that needed rehabilitation and then assume perpetual maintenance on aspects other than graffiti control and general vegetation management. Then it's anticipated that IQ would then construct a 2-lane road through the central district and dedicate that for public use. So that's the general framework of this agreement that the legal office is working through with the IQ folks, which leads you to your actions before you this evening, which is to authorize the manager to enter into agreement with IQ to rehabilitate this pond, to accept those easements and fee simple interest in the property, and then approval to allocate the $3.7 million in stormwater funds for the project in general. And those funds would come out of the stormwater utility. So I know I ran through that very quickly, but Mr. Chairman gave a very concise overview, so didn't want to rehash too much. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
I will comment that I did have been down there several times. I've hopped the fence. It's about a 4-foot fence, 3-foot fence. And I will tell you, I met one of the largest animals I've ever seen. I'm not sure what it was, but it went north and I went south. But it is a jungle down there. No vegetation management has been done in 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, Ms. Adams.
Yes. I'm sure a few of the council members remember this scenario. It's as if, just like in our neighborhoods in the urban core, people own the property, but they don't do anything to the property. And what we had was the city and IQ. To me, we all failed in that respect. If my memory serves me correct, when we first talked about this, I know I got elected, Mr. Taylor, council member in 2009, we were shown pictures, drawings of a plan that this particular body of water, yes, it's a stormwater pond, but it was supposed to have some aesthetics to it because of its location. That's the great divide still in our community from the east, from the west. And it's unfortunate that the people on the east side, and people driving up and down 52, they weren't happy, and 40, which is Salem Parkway now. Nobody was happy with the look of that. The green water, the algae, the kudzu, then the graffiti came, and it was like, do we really, or did we really expect this property to be representative of this brand that we sell nationally? So my comment is that I am hoping that this can be made better, but Councilmember Clark knows that my experience when we had to deal with this was when you let a stormwater pond go unkept, unmaintened, non-compliant, you're going to end up spending a lot of money, and that's where we are right now. So now we have to do this because it should have been done 10 years ago, but now we really have to do it. So I just hope at the end we get the finished product that we are looking for as a city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. McIntosh, and then the mayor.
So the 276,000 annual maintenance that we project we're going to spend going out, that's as compared to $0 in maintenance for the last 10 or 12 years.
McIntosh, that 270, let's call it, is all of the maintenance items that should have occurred on an annual basis. Dishing out those pretreatment vaults, removing all the sediment, dealing with the water issues, removing vectors, all of the things that the council has spoken of to this point. That's what this annual maintenance budget is geared to deal with.
Right, so while 276,000 is not an inconsequential number, it's not the kind of number that we're looking at now based on many years of not addressing ongoing problems.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just picking up on Councilmember McIntosh's point, if we had been doing the maintenance over that 10 years, we would have spent close to $3 million in doing it. So this number, even though it sounds high because we're having to start over and get all the design, is not out of question. I think the other thing we've got to certainly keep in mind is the fact that this drains just about all of central business districts. So it's not just an innovation quarter support mechanism. It's for the whole downtown as we're doing that. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your hard work on trying to bring this to fruition. I think it's painful, but it's something that has got to be done. And we can pay for it out of the stormwater fund as well.
Can I get a motion on it, please?
So moved.
Get a second? I'll second. All in favor, please vote when it comes up.
Mr. Chair.
That is, yes, ma'am.
One more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that a lot of citizens may think that how could we have allowed this to happen and the finger pointing and everything, but we're at a point right now where we can no longer ignore it and expect it to get better. As it said, it drains 355 acres. And as the mayor said, that is the business district of downtown. But again, I want us to hopefully use this as a lesson learned that when you leave things unkept and don't invest or don't follow up, that this is what you get. And this is another reason that we have a city that looks the way it does on one side of town and it looks the way on the other side of town. So I'm just hoping that the council and the people of the city can understand and put in their mindset that we not only have to do due diligence to things like this, we have to do this in our communities that we know every day are not being invested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Manager, between now and next Tuesday when we vote on this, if someone can just get me a little bit more information on that 2-lane asphalt road that's supposed to be going through the Central District campus.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I like the euphemism of vector control. That's another name for big critters. But anyway, thank y'all very much. We'll now move to G2, please.
G3.
Excuse me, what are we on? G3, excuse me.
G3, consideration of items relating to an economic development loan to Front Street Capital.
Mr. Millett, can you please introduce this to us?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of City Council.
Good afternoon.
Front Street Capital is a Winston-Salem-based developer of commercial, industrial, and office space. They have projects throughout the Southeast. 2 large ones in Winston-Salem include the park at 74 and Union Cross Business Park. They are requesting a $2.5 million loan to assist with the construction of a 144,000 square foot speculative building on lot number 4 at Union Cross Industrial Center. The facility will be marketed primarily to companies from outside the area seeking to locate in Winston-Salem. The initial investment is expected to be approximately $15.7 million, with construction beginning in the first quarter of 2023. The city loan would be repaid in full upon occupation of the facility by a tenant and the subsequent selling or refinancing of the facility. That will not exceed 5 years beyond the date of approval. The city has partnered with Front Street Capital on 2 similar projects. In 2017, council approved $2.5 million for a spec building at Union Cross Industrial Center. That space is fully occupied, and that loan has been repaid in full. In 2020, there was a $2.5 million loan for a spec building at the park at 74. That was originally 250,000 square feet. It has subsequently expanded to 610,000 square feet and will be fully occupied. Although the terms of that loan also allowed for a repayment period of up to 5 years, it was repaid last week. So we have been paid in full for that loan. The proceeds from that repayment would be used to provide funding for this $2.5 million loan. As part of this project, Front Street Capital proposes to contract with MWBE contractors and subcontractors whenever possible, hire local residents, including qualified ex-offenders and reentry applicants where possible, require any new purchaser or tenant to meet 2 additional criteria: making additional capital investment of at least $1 million in the facility, and locating and operating in Winston-Salem for at least 5 years, commencing with the occupancy and purchase of the facility. The company must also pay a minimum of $15 per hour and provide health care benefits. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
So, Mr. Millett, we lent them some money, they paid it back, we lent them, they paid it back. So basically, we just got a revolving.
Yes, sir.
Along here. Okay, Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Millett. The bullet points that say contract with local MWBEs, contractors, and subcontractors wherever possible, hire local residents, including qualified ex-offenders and reentry applicants where possible. I would hope that you will provide us with that information because, again, we put this language in documents and policies, but I don't want to blow out nobody's candle, but I'm just one of those people. I just don't think we're doing what we expect people to do, and I don't think we hold businesses accountable once they get our money for the follow-up. So I'm just serving notice. It's a new year, new beginnings, be a whiz. So I'll be looking for that information, and that where possible. Well, in my line of work from corporate America as an auditor, right, that wrote policies, and there's supposed to be a shall there. But we don't see it. So I don't see it. So I'm going to be looking for some information. And I don't need smoke and mirrors information. I need it to be real, Mr. Millett. And I know you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, and then Mr. McIntosh.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you summed it up really well. We're using our money over and over to create product, and it's a great use of our economic development funds. We not only got the money back, but when we got the money back, we got 2 really nice buildings. It's huge economic value that's generating tax dollars for us every year, and it's allowed us to be competitive in recruiting companies to our city. It's like selling product you can't sell from an empty wagon, and if we don't have product, we can't sell to Winston-Salem, bring these companies in, or help companies expand here. So, Mr. Millett, I think this is a solid project, and thank you for structuring it this way.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yeah, I want to thank Front Street Capital. They've done a tremendous amount of work in the community, but I would like to just point out that this kind of an arrangement works for me, whether they're a local developer or not. Somebody who's willing to come in and build product in what is still a very hot market. I would do this deal with an out-of-community company that wanted to do the same terms of the deal. I think right now everybody's a little bit conscious of the softening of the economy, but in the commercial real estate market and the industrial market, it's full steam ahead. So I feel very confident this deal will get leased out or sold very quickly we'll get our money back ahead of schedule.
Can I get a motion on this, please?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on C3. Everybody please vote when it comes up. I'm waiting for the results. Has everybody voted? Oh, it's not on the big screen, my little screen. Okay, that is approved, 4-0. Thank you. We will now go to G4.
G4, modification to approval of financial assistance to 1001 South Marshall LLC for community development purposes pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160D-1311.
Thank you. I guess, Mr. Miller, Mr. Rao, who wants to speak? You keep going.
I'm kind of trying to keep my steps down, so I'm just going to stay here rather than go back and head back to the podium.
You got to get 10,000 a day now.
I fall well short, thank you. You may remember that this item was presented as an information item back in November. As a recap, in 2018, City Council approved $2 million to assist 1001 South Marshall LLC with a $26 million redevelopment of an existing 130,000 square foot facility at 1001 South Marshall Street into a mixed use supporting Winston-Salem's creative and culinary ecosystem. The source of funds was 2014 general obligation bonds, and approval included 3 key conditions. 1, city funds were designated for hard construction costs, specifically public infrastructure and enhancements. 2, city funds would be dispersed in alternating tranches with other non-city financing. And 3, the developer shall secure all required additional financing for the project before any funds are dispersed. As was explained back in November, this project has expanded beyond that original vision for 1001 to now include the adjacent 1007 building, which is currently under lease to purchase by the developer. 1007 property has served as home to Cobblestone Farmers Market since October of 2021. Due to this broader approach of the project, the developer has divided redevelopment into 2 phases. Phase 1 includes upfitting the 1007 space, providing indoor and outdoor retail options for creative and culinary entrepreneurs. The building has undergone environmental remediation and is ready for construction upfit, including Winston-Salem shared kitchen space. Exterior and interior renovation for tenant spaces will be performed in accordance with the State Historic Preservation Office. Site work includes regrading the parking lot, patio for community gathering, stormwater management, lighting, and landscaping. Investment is estimated at $14.5 million and should serve as a catalyst for additional investment in the surrounding South Marshall Street area. Construction is expected to begin no later than the second quarter of 2023. Phase 2 of the project connects the shared kitchen of 1007 with the 1001 space and will include more workspaces, preparation areas, value-added packing areas, and refrigerated space. By the end of 2024, all 130,000 square feet are projected to be activated. Once completed, total investment for phases 1 and 2 is expected to total $36 million. Based on this new phase approach, the developer has requested that $2 million approved be modified that would allow city funds to be eligible for construction upfit of 1007 during phase 1. City funds would be escrowed with other fund sources, and the developer would not have access to the city funds until all of phase 1 funding is in place. Margaret Norfleet Neff with the developer is here. Should council have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Millett or the developer? I have no problem with it, provided it's in here that the money is escrowed until all the other funds are in place, which is important. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Mayor?
I'm just thrilled that the South Yep Credit Union may be a financer of this. We've been working with trying to get there in our community for years, so it'd be great to have him as part of this deal.
All right, can I get a motion? Oh, excuse me, Mr. McIntosh.
Just a comment. I mean, when we approved this, the original $2 million, that was against a $26 million project. Now we're using $2 million against a $14 million project. $2 million for 1001 South Marshall, a lot of the conversation around that was it was going to catalyze the area and kickstart in an area that was suffering, lack of investment. Now we've got the Coca-Cola plant under contract, new hands, money being poured in there. Walnut and Broad, that intersection there with the brewery and the new restaurants going in. I mean, just it seems to me like the value of this in terms of, catalyzing other real estate, we're not getting a bang for the buck that we were on the original investment. I'll throw that out there.
Any comments, Mr. Miller?
Ms. Norfolk Neff, would you like to comment? If you will give your name and address for the record, please.
Absolutely. Margaret Norfleet Neff, 3733 Millhaven Road, Winston-Salem. Thank you.
Pull the mic a little closer.
Oops, forgot about that from the last time. Margaret Norfleet Neff, 3733 Millhaven Road, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Thank you, Chairman, Mayor Pro Tem. Just to address Councilperson McIntosh's statement, yes, it was actually 24. I'll just knock it down to 2 million, but over these years, what we've done in that neighborhood has led to the activity that we feel very strongly has lesser known, the new retail spaces, as well as what Old Salem has been doing by activating not only 1007, but continuing to work and bring a lot of hope to this area. Our project is, as you know, not just retail, it's about jobs. Our job, I believe that you have our job listing, and I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to just say that I think the catalyzation for what 1001 and 1007 will do is extremely complementary, and I think you're going to be very pleased at where the city's money is going and what it looks like to everyone that comes down Old Salem Road, and Salem and around the roundabout. It will be an opening and a gateway to what's the rest of the neighborhood. I just wanted to add that. And thank you very much for the continued consideration. The city support with the bond funding is actually one of the most important components, I think, when we try to attract a team like Self-Help to Winston-Salem. They're extremely excited to come in with both developments. It's mission aligned, and I think there's a lot of room for a lot of collaboration across our community.
Thank you, ma'am.
Further question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have a timeline for when 1001 South Marshall will kick off? Will kick off.
Please come to the microphone.
1001 should kick off in 2024. Our timeline for 1007 is that we see new market tax credits coming in, closing in April, May. So second quarter, we're preparing to for construction and be ready by that time so that all the funds are together. The project's actually not complicated. So again, we would repeat this cycle in the fall, attracting new markets for 1001 and kick that off in the spring of 2024.
Did I hear that you're going to be looking for historic tax credits on this building?
We already have our Part 2s for both buildings, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that work's been done. And we also have a really cool, which I invite you all to come and see, an open plan that has already been semi-approved by Historic for the interior.
I'm hearing some concerns from two of my council members. I'm wondering if we should just move this forward without a recommendation, or what are some thoughts here? Can we do that?
That would be my preference.
Okay, can I get a motion to move this forward without recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Norfleet Neff, what we're doing, I'm not sure what the will of the council is, but I do want to move it to the full council, which, by the way, meets next Tuesday. Next Monday is MLK holiday, so it'll be Tuesday. So we're moving it forward without a recommendation either way. And I have a motion and a second on that, and we're going to vote on it right now. Everybody please vote on the motion to move forward without recommendation. Thank you. That is approved. And I believe,
a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
Mr. Miller, The historical documents from the beginning to the end are all inclusive. All of these are the documents in our agenda, right? If not, I think it would be beneficial for some of the other newer council members if we make sure that they have everything that we've done with this project over the past few years.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That is all we had. Ms. Schwab, would you mind hanging around 1 minute? And Mr. Millett, would you mind hanging around 1 minute? I have some non-committee items for you. With that, we will stand adjourned. And again, the next committee will meet tomorrow at 4:30, be Ms. Adams' General Government Committee. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Go Dogs.